Hello, this is Eileen, the environmental educator, who has the solutions the world needs that would have solved our environmental problems a long time ago. But all environmental voices have prevented the solution since November 93. And maybe had anybody allowed solutions, we wouldn't be having this big headline here today that there is a mega drought plaguing the Southwest, and it's the worst that's been seen in 1,200 years. And according to weather.com, it shows no signs of slowing down. Okay, I laugh a little bit there, but it's not really funny. Um, okay, this article here, February 15th, it was on USA, done by USA Today. Mega droughts are defined as intense droughts that last for decades or longer. And now, thanks in part to global warming, especially fierce one is back. So, of course, everything is the fault of global warming, which means it's the fault of Al Gore and all environmental voices, Bill McKibben, and the NRDC in the United Nations, and Robert Redford, and everybody who has prevented the light years best environmental education and agenda that the world needs that would have solved our problems decades ago, right here, number 1 to 5 on the environmental education and agenda. But no one will allow solutions. So instead, we have headlines that this is, blamed on human caused climate change. 40% of the drought can be blamed on human caused climate change. It says it just keeps getting worse, and that um, the burning of fossil fuels is bringing higher temperatures and increasing evaporation into the air. They say that they, determine this by analyzing tree ring patterns, which provide insights about soil moisture levels each year over time. And yeah, now what they're saying, well, this is an important wake up call. Okay, isn't everything an important wake up call in the environment? Yeah, it is. Except no one's waking up, and no one's doing anything. And it could get a whole lot worse if we don't halt climate change soon. Well, hello, would somebody please get on the solutions the world needs? All I do is beg and beg and beg people. And now what I just did was there's a problem solver caucus in the United States Congress, which I just learned about. And so today, Saturday, February 19th, 2022, I said to them, hey, the common sense environmental solutions and leadership the world needs. And how about you guys who they call themselves a problem solver caucus, calls themselves a common sense solution caucus, and I'm like, hey, how about you getting the solutions that Gore and the United States Congressional Climate Caucus and AOC, Oasis Crazy, and everybody in the world won't allow since November 93. So they're just the latest people that I hit up, and we'll see if I ever even hear back from them. But in the meantime, they're all out there screaming about how the situation is dire and it could get a whole lot worse if we don't halt climate change. And, you know, right here, if Lake Powell, which is one of the places, Lake Powell and Lake Mead, are drying up, their levels are just sinking, and water levels are just sinking and sinking and sinking. And Lake Powell, this is the Glen Canyon Dam here, and it provides electricity for 5.8 million customers. And its electric production could end by in 2023 if water levels don't rise. So that's electricity for a lot of people. 5.8 million customers. Where are they going to get electricity to power all of their electric cars? White House. Yeah, they're not even going to have electricity to power their toaster. So, electric cars are an absolute ridiculous solution for any one of a number of reasons. And you know that they're ridiculous because environmental voices are promoting them. And I'm sorry if you're in love with Elon Musk and think that the guy walks on water. If the guy walked on water, he'd be implementing these solutions here. Electric cars are not a godsend. Right now, they produce the exact same greenhouse gases and emissions and pollutants and toxins, not to mention then that, their batteries are a whole nother environmental mess, and they're nothing to be praised. But yeah, how are we going to be powering them if this dam goes offline and 5.8 million people don't have electricity, along with everybody else in the country whose electricity is becoming less and less reliable. And Lake Powell is also, it's a huge reservoir, and it has the Colorado, running through it, and the Colorado provides water to like 70 million people. So, we have 5.8 million electric customers and 70 million people that are dependent upon the water that is dwindling and dwindling and dwindling in the West. So, of course, there's a lot of press out there about how dire this situation is becoming, and that, of course, we need other partners towards solutions. Yeah, that would be me. Other partners, the person that actually has solutions. But the problem is just no one will allow solutions. It's just it's 28 years of my life. But here we have, the world just out there screaming, screaming, screaming that dire consequences are going to happen. We got some handy dandy charts here. Severe drought. Now, of course, the the dark areas right here. This is where the biggest drought is happening, down to the lightest amounts in the light colors here. And this is the West right now. This is just this Denver. That's the Front Range. This is where the Rockies are, and then west of the Rockies is just burning up, I guess, as they say. And yeah, right here it says over the last decade, California and other western states have experienced severe water shortages, triggering periodic restrictions on water usage and forcing some communities to import bottled water for drinking. It's going to get a lot worse than that because Lake Powell, it provides water to so much of the West. I mean, you have this entire dry area out here that has no water source. Vegas has no water source. It relies on this water that is no longer there. Down here, Phoenix, Arizona, they rely on this water that is now no longer there. How many people live here? I mean, at some point, Vegas is going to run out of water. So isn't a lot of places down here that they're just going to run out of water? Yeah, talk about problems. And right here it says odds are high the current dry spell will continue for at least a couple of years, probably longer, according to the findings. So there's a 3 in 4 chance it will run until the end of the decade. And This is the worst drought in over 800 years. And according to this next chart here, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. But will anybody get on the solutions the world needs? No. No, 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 no. They keep, screaming for it, crying for it, just announcing how desperately it's needed. The other night, I'm going to do a video about it. Um, Jay Inslee, Washington governor, he did a meeting with Gore and Gina McCarthy, and they all cheerlead each other. Yay, we're all so good, and now that people are seeking counseling because they're afraid of climate change, Al Gore's like, no, no, don't worry, don't worry. Oh my God, we can solve this problem. When, Al? Right? Al Gore is still proud to this day to refuse these solutions that he's been refusing since the 90s. And now the whole world is, well, not the whole world, but the American Southwest is up in arms about the drought that's been going on in the western United States. And this is a very real situation. And, importing bottled water for drinking isn't the solution. Definitely not. People like, oh, well, we have this whole huge ocean here. We'll just, desalinate it. And we don't really know the consequences of that, and that's not the best idea in the world. Desalination is another huge, manufacturing process that it takes to manufacture salt water into fresh water, and we just have to stop, doing things that make droughts happen. And they say it's because of climate change. Now, droughts have happened over time, and this could be just a natural process. It could be. Droughts have happened before. But, let me see. This is the worst the region has seen in 1,200 years, okay, in the southwestern parts of Mexico. 1,200 years ago, we didn't have the millions of people that are here now dependent upon the water that's no longer flowing. So it's just insanity. It's just look at this. This is what it looks like when the ground gets parched. So I just thought I'd bring in this little bit of tidbit here about how everybody is really very concerned about this, yet you still cannot get anybody to implement solutions that would address climate change and actually give us real, viable, immediate betterment. At least starting betterment. And as always, that guy, the guy who started the Weather Channel years ago, I did a video where I have him in a recording saying, everybody who does these studies says, that they're paid. Their studies have to come out to the end conclusion that the people are paying them want. But this is a hard one because it's obvious that there is this huge, massive drought and that water sources are drying up out there. But the thing is, too, is that this very well could be, as they say, geoengineering and weather modification and governments using mechanics to have the weather that they want, to create the disasters that they want. That too is a very real, viable variable in the equation that these articles will never talk about because these articles are not allowed to ever address any real truth. But right now, that doesn't change the fact that these water sources are drying up and we have millions of people that are dependent upon that water, and we have millions of people that are dependent upon the electricity that water produces. So I just thought I'd bring you this little tidbit here, and if only anyone would get on the solutions the world needs, which is why I just said, hey, please, problem solver caucus, common sense caucus. Now, will they? No. You know, probably not. Odds are, over 28 years of experience, no. But we can always try because somebody has to. Um, Nobody screaming for solutions for 28 years will. And of course, nobody in the press will expose all of the fraudulent environmental voices, not even, as we know, that group that is Project Verification, who verifies what we already know, but gives the entire fraudulent environmental industry a pass. And that's going to be another video I do today. So stay tuned, people.